Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, we are chatting to someone who is extremely inspirational, someone who's a mover and shaker, and that is Mr. Cobus Visser. Now, Cobus' story is as fascinating as it is inspiring. His journey into the realm of fire walking, where he has fearlessly walked over many, many paths, more than 1,800 times in particular, stands as a testament to his resilience as well as his determination. Now, beyond his fire walking feats, Cobus is also a master wordsmith, having penned The Vikings of Valhalla, a compelling piece that promises readers a riveting experience. Cobus, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and I'm excited. You know, it's on my bucket list. A while back I saw your interview of you with someone on TV. I said, one day you're going to interview me as well, so another tick box. I'm glad to be here.
It's good to speak things into existence, and I'm glad to have you on the show as well. I just want to touch on you in particular. I mean, you're a very inspirational person, and a lot of people look up to the work that you do and also the stuff you do as well. But I know that you were actually called the Superman before. You're called the Superman, and now you suddenly call the Viking. Tell us about that journey from moving from being what does it even mean to be a Superman?
You know, Superman is about being fearless and courageous. And when this journey started, I could fit into my Superman suit, by the way. My journey when I was Superman is part of the things that I do, walking on fire, walking on broken glass, doing these extreme things. And part of my story is as I grew up, I watched a lot of Superman movies. However, my health, my kryptonite in my life is hemophiliac. And it got me to a point where I was in a wheelchair for 3 years. I was in crutches, I couldn't walk, and my whole life faltered. And I had to find a sense of living and purpose again. And so I went to climb a mountain by the name of Kilimanjaro. And so part of my journey in Superman is I did it with my crutches. And it's about for people to discover the hero inside of them, the power inside of them. However, as time goes on, 10 years later, I realized one day I don't fit in my Superman suit, right? It doesn't look good. So I realized, okay, it's time for evolve. It's time to grow to the next level and what is needed. And I realized it's time for community, because one thing the Vikings they were very community strong. Women were in the same level. So women empowerment was good, but for men as well. Vikings were fearless and courageous. And one thing that stood out for me, they lived by values. You know, there's 9 values, and some of the values is heart, perseverance, fidelity, loyalty, you know, taking action, having perseverance, being industriousness, right? It's so powerful that I realize it's part of what I live by. You know, I have this quote that says, from Gandhi, that says, everything starts with a belief. That becomes our thoughts, that becomes our words, our action, our habits, our values, and ultimately that creates our destiny.
That's very, very powerful. And I can see the passion in you as well. You know, I just heard what you were mentioning now, and you kind of brushed through it very quickly. We just need to emphasize the fact that you actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro on crutches. Like, that's a huge, you know, accomplishment without a doubt. So big up on that, you know, blessings on that. But I just want to touch on your personal journey. Now, I know that you're big on personal development, and you're someone who definitely prides himself on growing and progressing all the time. But you've been doing this for a while now. It's over 10 years. You know, what are some of those moments that you remember, even until today, that you know, change the way that you look at things, shape the way that you do things, those special moments?
It's basically, you know, the 2 creeds that I live by: whatever it takes and live without regret. You know, it's to make the best of every day and to push yourselves to reach your full potential. You know, I was the other day at the doctor's, and the doctors looks at my joints and that 3D scans. And when I couldn't walk, you know, they wanted to replace my elbows, replace my ankles, and I didn't go for it. And as you can see, I walked in here normally, yet I'm still in pain. And they said to me, Cobus, your joints is worse than it was like almost 8 years ago. How are you still be able to walk? And I realized that's because of the power of the mind. You know, creating all of these beliefs inside of me, saying, you know, working on the mindset, reading books, thinking about what's the power of the mind, right? And that's the journey. But what stood out for me was the impact I made in other people's lives. Getting that feedback, say, Cobus, you changed my life. Or getting that call out from men saying, Cobus, I want to end it. I can't live anymore. Please help. And that is the whole journey, that why I do it, you know. Can I quickly say another thing?
Yeah.
When my son was born, I could never pick up my son. And I want to share this because that put me on this path that I am today. I could never pick him up. And then one day he wrote a letter or draw a picture of 2 babies. And the one baby had a crossover. He says, Dad, I don't want a little sister. I want a little brother that can play with me because you can't. And when he came to me, I had a cross over me, and he said, Dad, you are dead to me. And that changed my life, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today, to leave a legacy for him behind, because guess what? The other day he said, Dad, you're alive.
That's beautiful. It's a really beautiful and inspirational story, you know. And I'm just listening to the work that you do, and I can see that it goes far beyond just coaching. It's definitely more mentorship. It's more impact work as well that you are involved in. So people can really look up to the kind of stuff that you do, because you don't just get involved in terms of teaching them when it comes to fire walking or whatever it might be. You're actually really changing the person and how they think and their mindset as well, which is such an important thing. I want to touch on the whole idea of fire walking, right? Now, we're talking about coaching. You know, there's a lot of people that are very scared to go into fire walking. They would love to watch you. They'd be very surprised and very, you know, impressed by you, but they would never want to do it themselves. Let's talk about some of the ideas that are involved with getting more people, maybe perhaps into fire walking as a coach in particular, and why is it such a good thing to do?
It's life-changing. It's transformational. It's bringing everything that you've learned into action. I was also afraid.
Yeah.
My first experience.
1 degree Celsius on fire. If you can do it, you can do anything. It's time for you to get your teams to come walk on fire.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's walking on fire.
Yeah.
I love that video.
So I love this, and you can see that everyone's so nervous, but the way that you got them to be calm, and you know, they actually at the end of it achieved something. That's
Yes.
really, really incredible. And you can see these are people that, you know, have now changed their life from your experience.
Definitely. And I've had people with no legs that comes and say, I can't walk. Until I said, but you have hands, right? And then get them to walk with their hands. My son was 2.5 years old when he started walking on fire. So there's no excuses. And it's for us to overcome that fear, that little voice in our head, because it's only the first step. Once you've given that first step, you're looking back and says, wow, that was so easy. So what I tell people, just come and listen, because you might get more out of my presentation and story and what I share than sometimes from the firewalk. Also, you can learn from seeing other people walk on fire. However, if they're in the audience and they listen, guess what's going to happen? They will be one of the first ones out there and say, I'm ready, Cobus, I want to walk.
That's true. A lot of people get inspired and motivated. It does create a domino effect without a doubt, where one person sees it and everyone does want to follow suit. I want to talk about your books though, because as much as you are doing this coaching and we've seen the impact that you have in a physical aspect, you know, sometimes you can't reach everyone. You know, you are a South African citizen. There might be people in Nigeria, people in Europe that would love to learn from you and have that inspiration from you, but they're just too far away. You have a book out, and those books are called Extraordinary. Tell us a little bit more about your book and how people can get it. What does it actually stand for?
It started my journey. It's all about mindset, how the mind works, how you can program your mind to have the life that you want, how you can impact your life. And it started my journey. And so people can find it on Amazon, etc. But however, if your viewers is interested in today, I will give them the PDF for free. They just have to reach out to me, right? If they want to. And part of this journey, you know, I think this is the legacy I'm leaving behind, so that one day I'm not there anymore, my kids will have something to read to change their life. It says, this is what impacted my dad, and read it. And that's why I'm writing now 2 books. My next book is my memoir about my life story and about Kilimanjaro that's going to come out next year. And so for me, is one thing that I learned from my dad is said, if you want to keep growing, you need to keep reading books. And so Extraordinary You is about finding the extraordinary you. Because guess what? This little guy has bored, and he comes to his mom and he says, Mom, I'm bored. And mom says, okay. And she looks around and she sees a newspaper with a map of the world, and she takes it and tears it into little pieces and says, here's a puzzle, go put it together. And after a few minutes he comes back and says, Mom, look, I've done it. She says, how did you do that? She says, Mom, it was the easiest thing. You see, when I turned the pieces around, I saw the face of a person. And so when I fixed the person, the world was fixed.
That's beautiful. That's a really, really cool saying, without a doubt. Guys, don't forget that these books are available for you guys to get completely free, completely complimentary. All that you have to do is get into contact with Cobus Visser, and we'll definitely share your contact details as well on social media. But just going back to the interview as well, you know, I mean, I'm always following people on social media, and I've seen a lot of your stuff out there, and people always mention this saying. I don't know if it's a movement, but it's something about Mr. Vikings of Valhalla, and I always hear about this saying. I don't know, is it a movement? Is it a saying? What's it all about?
It's a movement that I'm starting, right? To get people to live like a Viking again, you know, to be strong, to be fearless, to be courageous, and to live by values. You know, I think something that we've lost over time is to stand up for what is right. You know what's happening in the world at the moment, and we need more leaders to stand up for something. And one way of doing it is we need to get back to what is our values, because values attract people. You know, and we connect because based on our values, right? And so it's important to have values, and that's why I want to bring back. And part of the Viking movement as well is to empower men. You know, there's so many things that is empowerment for women and women events.
True.
But if you think about it, is there anything for men? And it's to get back to say, men, it's okay to be a man.
I agree with that completely. I think we definitely need more of those platforms. But Cobus, before we let you go, I mean, you're very inspirational. People on social media are loving this conversation. You know, I wanted to just know, what are some of your future plans? And also, you know, there's a lot of young people out there right now, like we are mentioning. There's a lot of men out there. There's a lot of businesses, young entrepreneurs. South Africa's not in the best place right now. You know, we have a high unemployment rate, but we have incredible young people, ambitious young people. What advice do you have for them as well?
I think the one thing is to do whatever it takes. You know, you only have one chance, and to go make a change. But to get results in your life, first you have to look at your attitude, how you're going to pitch up in life, right? If you want results, then also upskill yourself and then put in the effort. And then the last thing is to make connections. And like I'm looking at you, I want to say, I see you. You know, in Zulu we say, sawubona.
Yeah.
And then when you know the person, or even if you don't know the person, to go up to them, to give them a hug and just be present, because today it's all about connection. And for the young guys out there, put in the effort, change your attitude about our country, about this world, right? Upskill yourself, learn new things. And if you don't know how, go find a mentor that can teach you the ways, because guess what? You are the future of this country.
No, I love that. You know, networking is so important. Mentorship is so important. People are really going to look forward to getting these books. How do people get into contact with you?
It's easy. So it's Cobus with a C. You can see here, Cobus with a C. So it's Cobus@cobusvisser.com, right? Or they can just search on all social media, Cobus Visser or Cobus the Viking. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. I'm on all of them. They can just reach out and say, I saw you on the show. You said about the books, and I will send them the link for them to download.
Perfect, Cobus. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, guys. That is Cobus Visser. He is an expert when it comes to fire walking. But not only that, he's also an incredible coach when it comes to personal development, and also an author at the same time. Now, you have to go out and get his book in particular, but best believe he's also willing to give it to you guys complimentary. But on that note, we are going to get on to a quick ad break, and we'll come right back.